Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here in Hollywood, California. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you guys joining me here as we, a bunch of friends, talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, a little bit of television, a few other things here and there as well. Coming out of the Thanksgiving Day weekend, guys, I hope you had an awesome, wonderful, fun, relaxing time with friends, family, or if you just needed to recharge your batteries, some good quality alone time, whatever it is. I hope you did whatever made you happy this weekend. You can come into this week ready to kick all sorts of ass. Listen, we got a ton of stuff that we got to cover here today, but before we get into any of the new topics, let's do a little bit of house cleaning and look at the results of the last episode's question of the day. Now, the last episode, we talked about, will Disney's 2019 be the biggest box office studio year in history? Now, Disney currently holds the record like $7.6 billion, but with all the incredible blockbusters coming out from Disney, you're talking about Avengers, Star Wars, Lion King, Aladdin, Artemis Fowl, Frozen 2, on and on and on, and all these movies. Will it beat it? Well, 90% of you guys seem pretty damn certain. 90% of you said yes, 2019's Disney box office will beat the 2016 record. Only 10% of you believes that it won't. Will it? Well, we still got to wait a good year to find that out for sure. All right, let's get into things here with the first little thing of off the top. Well, the box office has come out this weekend, and we'll get to the box office report in just a little bit. But one of the things that has continued to amaze and stun and shock us week after week after week is the results of Venom. Venom, that we've been talking, it feels like we've been talking about it every single week. Like Venom has now crossed this marker that we didn't think it would cross. Then it crossed another marker we didn't think it would cross. Well, now it's hit a couple of more milestones. Venom has now made $822 million at the box office, all right? $822 million at the box office. Way beyond what anybody thought was even remotely possible. I don't even think Sony in its wildest dreams thought it would get to $822 million. But at $822 million, let's put this in context. Let's look at some things surrounding it just to understand just how big of a result this is for Venom. Now that it's at 822, if you look at some of the biggest box office films from 2017 and this year, 2018, look at some of the big marquee blockbuster films Venom has now passed. It passed Deadpool 2. That made $734 million. That's over last week. It has crossed Mission Impossible Fallout, one of the biggest hits of the year. Venom has passed Mission Impossible Fallout. It obviously passed It, which was the big horror film from last year. It passed Coco at $807 million. And going back into the comic book genre, it even passed Wonder Woman. It passed Wonder Woman at $821 million. Something I don't think anybody would say. Now, I know it feels like every week we're talking about this film, but every week we never fail to be shocked by just how high this can go. Now, the big question now is, at least for me, this little Venom movie that we're talking about here, where everybody said this movie cannot catch or will not do any kind of business, it cannot be successful if it indeed does not have Spider-Man in it, right? It can't. It's going to flop. No Spider-Man in it? It's going to flop. Nobody cares about Venom if there's not going to be Spider-Man in it. Well, guess what? As impossible as I thought it was, this little Venom movie is now getting close to Spider-Man Homecoming's box office. This little movie that everybody said without Spider-Man it's going to flop, and now without Spider-Man it may catch. It's unlikely. But it's within the realm of possibility that it could catch the Spider-Man movie. This little movie without Spider-Man may catch the Spider-Man movie. It's completely nuts. Who knows where this thing's going to be next week? Now, I don't even think Venom made $1 million in the domestic box office this week. I don't even think it made $1 million in the domestic box office this week. But with its overseas legs, who knows? Again, I believe it is highly unlikely. And I think Spider-Man Homecoming came in around 860. I think that's 860, 870, somewhere in that neighborhood. That means Venom is still a good $50 million away. I don't think it can get another $50 million, but I mean, I've been doubting Venom this whole time. I mean, I always thought it could make money. I always thought it would be profitable. It could be successful, blah, blah. But I never thought like 600 million. I certainly never thought 700 million. And I absolutely did not believe it could hit 800 million. And here we are at 822. And the band, ladies and gentlemen, just keeps on playing. All right. With that out of the way, let's go to this other little off the top topic here. As many of you know, the CW Arrowverse has their big Elseworld thing coming up, and everybody's very excited about it. So, as a matter of fact, a brand new trailer, I don't know if you guys saw it, but a brand new trailer just dropped that it looks like the big thing. There's this great shot in the new Elseworlds trailer with the CW crossover. You got Supergirl, the two versions of the Flash, and Arrow standing there, and standing across from them, Superman in the black outfit. I suggested a little while ago they may do a little bit of Injustice Gods Among Us and have everybody having to team up to fight Superman. It looks like maybe that's what they're doing. Not going to lie, I would find that pretty cool. But, you know, beyond the Elseworld stuff, one of the things fans of the CW Arrowverse and the CW shows in general have asked for a long time is a return of Smallville. Why don't we see Tom Welling pop up in the CW verse? Why don't we see Michael Rosenbaum as Lex Luthor again? To some people, not necessarily to me, but to some people, like Michael's Lex Luthor is like a lot of people's all-time favorite Lex Luthor. Well, Stephen Amell, who plays Arrow, of course, he plays Oliver Queen, plays Arrow. Now, oh, damn it, Ray, I forgot to bring the bottle. But anyway, Stephen Amell is part owner of this wine company called Knocking Point. And I meant to bring it today. I have a bottle of Knocking Point wine that Stephen Amell actually gave to Anna and I. And he owns one of the owners of this winery. Stephen Amell has got a lot of people talking right now because he got on his social media and posted this picture. And that, in case you cannot tell, those two guys sitting in the back, the one in the white shirt, the one, and obviously the guy facing the camera, that's Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum, Superman and Lex Luthor from Smallville. Stephen Amell in their offices at Knocking Point. And all Stephen Amell wrote was, pretty excited about this one. Okay, before we get fanatical here, let's say this. The by far most likely scenario behind this little picture of Superman and Lex Luthor in the Green Arrow's office, the most likely scenario here is that you see they got all the wine tastings out, they all got the bottles out, Michael's wearing a Knocking Point hat, all this kind of stuff. The most likely scenario here is this is some kind of business partnership. This is something that Tom and Michael are going to, who knows? I didn't know, but maybe Tom and Michael have been like best friends ever since Smallville. I have no idea. Maybe they hang out in everything they do. I don't know. I have no idea. But the most likely scenario here is this means nothing. It's just something about Knocking Point, which is his wine label. But you can see why people would be freaking out. First of all, I don't know that I've ever seen a picture of Tom and Michael together at the same time ever since Smallville. I don't think I've ever seen a picture of the two of them together. So to see that here is interesting. And the fact that Stephen Amell made it so ambiguous as to just put pretty excited about this one was clearly designed to get people talking. It was clearly designed to get people yapping and talking about this. So let's be unreasonable for a second. What is the possibility here? What are the chances that we could see a Arrow and Smallville crossover? What are the chances? Because remember, the Superman in the current Arrowverse is from a different verse. It's from a different reality. It's from a different Earth, right? So who's to say that maybe there isn't a possibility that they could introduce at some point, you know, that there was this Clark Kent kid in Kansas and this, like, I don't know. Highly unlikely, but you could see why some people would get excited and you could see why some people get talking. So I'm going to ask you guys, what do you think? Do you think that's possible that Stephen Amell right now has just kind of teased that we're going to see some kind of Smallville Arrow crossover? Or do you think, like me, that cooler heads need to prevail here, and it's probably nothing to do with Arrow, probably nothing to do with Smallville, probably just something to do with his wine company? Or could it be something more than that? Let me know what you guys think. And more importantly, is it even something you'd want to see? Would you be interested in seeing Smallville kind of, resurrected for some Arrow stuff? I don't know. Maybe you wouldn't even want to see it. Maybe you'd be dying for it. Jump down to the comments section and let me know what you guys think. All right. With that out of the way, guys, let's now go on to our main topics today. How do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? It's pretty easy. You guys pick them out by emailing me your topics and questions to john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. Send those emails to me. And guys, very important, make sure you put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, keep those emails to 90 words or less. All right, let's move on now to the first email today. And the first email today comes to us from Danny Ford, who writes, saw 2 movies this weekend, Ralph 2 and Creed 2. Loved them both. No surprise they came in number 1 and number 2 at the box office this weekend. But I was surprised they didn't make as much as I thought they would. Do you think the studios are disappointed with the results despite being number 1 and number 2? All right, thanks a lot for the email, Danny. And yes, a couple of big films came out this weekend. We had Wreck-It Ralph 2. Yes, we had Creed 2. Yes, we had Robin Hood. Wah, wah. Anyway, let's take a look at the results. The box office results have come in for this week. Obviously, coming in at number 1, as predicted, right on the tracking number. It was tracking at 55. Ralph Breaks the Internet comes in at number 1 at $55.6 million. Creed 2 was tracking around 35. It came in right there at about $35.2 million. Dr. Seuss's The Grinch took a very small dip. Very small dip, very impressive rate. It made another $30 million. Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald comes in at number 4, making another $29 million. Bohemian Rhapsody makes another 13.8. And notice you don't even see Robin Hood on the list there. Robin Hood made $9 million in its opening weekend, by the way. There aren't the words in the English language to describe how big of a flop this is. Because the budget on this movie exceeded the $100 million range, comes out, makes $9 million, doesn't even crack the top 5 in its opening weekend box office. But that's pretty much what we all kind of guessed and what we all anticipated and what we all predicted. But Ralph and Creed come in number 1 and number 2. But okay, Ralph Breaks the Internet, Wreck-It Ralph 2 makes $55 million. Okay, number 1, but is that a number that the studios are happy with, or should they be concerned? Creed 2, $35 million, but number 2, that's great, only behind Wreck-It Ralph, no shame in that, but is $35 million disappointing? Is that going to be kind of considered a letdown by the studios? Well, here's the thing. We live in this era right now where we think every movie that opens has to make $80 million to be considered a hit or to be successful. And that is simply not the case. Movies do not need to come out today and make $80 million, make $100 million. There are some movies that have more modest budgets, or some movies that are designed to make money over the long haul, right? Are the studios disappointed with Wreck-It Ralph's performance? Are they just disappointed with Creed 2? Well, I don't think so. Because let's look at this comparison of both Wreck-It Ralph and Creed and how they compare to the opening weekends of Wreck-It Ralph's first movie and Creed's first movie. Take a look at this. The first Wreck-It Ralph movie opened to $49 million. It went on to be a hit and to be very profitable for the company, and they were very happy with it. Wreck-It Ralph 2 actually makes over a 10% gain on that. It makes $55 million. So it exceeded the first film. The first Creed, as much as everybody loves it, the first Creed film made $29 million. It takes almost a 15% jump into Creed 2 that makes $35. It's a marked improvement over the previous one. So when films like Wreck-It Ralph or a Creed come out, we need not to compare them to how does a Star Wars movie open or how does a DC or a Marvel film open. No, you got to look at it in their own context. And in Wreck-It Ralph's context, it made like $6 million more on its opening weekend than the first film did. With Creed, it made like another $6 million, which is almost a 15% drop, or climb, I should say, from its first one. Are the studios disappointed in this? No. Again, these totals came in right around where they were tracking to. It's what they were expecting. It's what they were hoping for. And they are both, most importantly, improvements over the previous installment. We always talk about the word trajectory. That's what the studios want to see. They want to see an upward trajectory. With Wreck-It Ralph and Creed 2, they got both of those. And on that level, it's going to keep them all very, very happy. So yeah, no problems there with that. All right, let's move on now to the second email of the day. And the second email today comes to us from Sherry Taggett, who writes, I'm a big movie fan, but not a big trailer fan. I don't run around online trying to find the newest trailers, and I've gone to a lot of movies without seeing more than one trailer for it. But the Lion King trailer is another story. I've watched it like 20 times, and everyone I know has too. Do you think it is the most watched trailer ever? All right, thanks a lot for the email, Sherry. And I'm not kidding. I was sitting down. I didn't even know the Lion King trailer was dropping this week. No idea. So Thanksgiving comes along, and I'm sitting in my place with the family came over, and we're watching. We got football on TV on Thanksgiving as the dinner was getting ready. We're watching football, and we're sitting around. Me, Ray, Ryan, friend Sol was there. And a commercial break comes on the football game. And the commercial break starts with this landscape, this beautiful landscape with the sunrise coming up over it, right? No music, no sound effects, no nothing. And I had no idea Lion King trailer was coming. So just as a joke, we're sitting there and this sunrise comes up and I just go, yeah, you win, yeah, you know, like from the opening. That was beautiful, by the way. You should record that, make your phone ring. Anyway, and I just say that as a joke, because it looks like the Lion King opened and blah, blah, blah. But then it cuts to another landscape shot. And then it cuts to a shot of some animals that looks kind of like Lion King. And all of a sudden I gasped. And I turned to everybody in the room. I said, wait a minute, is this actually the Lion King trailer? Which I had no idea was coming. And then they play the Lion King trailer. And I lose my damn mind. It was absolutely incredible. And I said this on an open mic the other day. I will say it again. For a first Lion King trailer, a first look you're giving to the wide audience and stuff like that, I don't like to use the word perfect, but it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. Because it did a couple of things here. Number one, it announced to the world the Lion King was coming. But number two, you put in some iconic shots that everybody would recognize and totally jump on board with. It just crushed it. I've lost count how many times I've watched this damn trailer. Now, to your question, Sherry, is it the most watched trailer of all time? The answer to that is no. It is the biggest, most watched Disney trailer of all time, but it is the second most watched trailer in its first 24 hours of all time. To put it in context, Avengers Infinity War's trailer had 238 million views in its first 24 hours. This Lion King one, on a holiday, when not nearly as many people are sitting in front of their computer screens and the internet use isn't as high, the Lion King, 224.6 million. Avengers Infinity War, 238 million. Lion King, 224 million. Just like less than 14 million views behind it. On a holiday when there's not as high internet usage, when nobody knew that the trailer was even coming out. And it got 224.6 million views, just less than 14 million views less than the Avengers thing, when they had no idea the trailer was coming. Online, premiered during a football game on television, then it's online when not as many people use the internet, and it still only came in less than 14 million views behind. This brings up something. So no, it's not the most watched trailer of all time, but the second most in the first 24 hours. But this brings up something interesting to me. The question has been, I've had people before say to me, John, we think that the new Lion King can actually be the number one box office movie of 2019. To which I said, pshaw. No. I mean, Lion King's going to do great. The original Lion King's my all-time favorite animated film. But let's not get carried away, people. It's not a Star Wars movie. It's not Avengers 4. Avengers 4 is opening up in 2019, people. Let's not forget that. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. But I will tell you what. I ain't so convinced of that now. I am not so convinced of that now. I will go on record right now. I actually do believe it is possible that Lion King, not a Star Wars movie, not Avengers 4, I'm starting to believe that it is very possible that Lion King could be the biggest film of 2019. And I'll tell you why. It's not because of the trailer. The trailer isn't what convinced me that it's very well possible that Lion King could be the number one film of 2019. It's not the trailer. It is the global, worldwide response to the trailer that has got me doubting things. Thinking that the sky is purple and cats and dogs live together in harmony and all that kind of stuff. A world where Avengers 4 is coming out and it's not maybe the number one film of the year, box office wise. I'm telling you what, I think it could be this. And this was illustrated great on an open mic I did yesterday. One of the viewers wrote in and said, hey, you know what? I've got my siblings and they have their families as well. And none of them ever want to go to the movies. They don't go to the movies that much. But the Lion King trailer dropped and me and all my siblings talking about their families saying, we all got to go see this movie. Here's the thing about this Lion King movie, folks, is that this is the type of movie, and these are rare, but this Lion King movie, judging by the global worldwide response to this trailer, this is going to be the kind of movie that gets people who don't go to the movies to go to the movies. There are going to be people who maybe go to 1 to 2 movies a year, but this is a movie they will get off their couch and go to the theaters and go to see. And do not underestimate the impact that will have on this overall global worldwide 2019 totals when looking at which film was the biggest film. You know, the thing about the MCU and Avengers, they get hardcore fans going, they get the moderate fans going, and they get the average movie-going audience going. But this Lion King movie, this is going to get the hardcore fans. It's going to get the general fans. It's going to get the average movie-going audience. But it's also a kind of film that's going to get people who do not go to the movies going to the movies. You know, I talk a lot about, my mom goes to see it because my mom's an average film goer. My mom likes going to the movies. My dad doesn't go to movies. My dad does not go to the movies. He will go to the movies when I visit at Christmas time and I take my family out to a movie. He'll go then. But I'm telling you what, I think my dad, who is not a moviegoer, my dad is going to haul him away from the ranch and he's going to go to the movie theater to watch Lion King. And I think that's going to be speaking to a lot of people across this country. Now, do not misquote me. I'm not sitting here telling you 100%, take it to the bank, Lion King's going to be the number one film of the year. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that this landscape has changed. Because where 72 hours ago, 4 days ago, it was a foregone conclusion that, part 2 of this fight, Captain America and Thanos, by the way, this is a marvelous new Funko Pop I got this on Black Friday of Captain America fighting Thanos. One of my favorite moments of that entire movie. Anyway, had to show that off for a second. But whereas it was a foregone conclusion that the follow-up to that movie, it was just an automatic lock. The number one film of 2019 is going to be Avengers 4. Everybody knows that, blah, blah, blah. Landscape's changed. I don't think it's such a lock anymore. I really don't. And that will bring us to today's question of the day. And the question of the day, guys, is straight up simple. Do you think it is possible that The Lion King could indeed be the number one film of 2019? Here's how you answer that question, guys. Simply go over to my Twitter page. You can find me simply at John Campea. You see my Twitter handle right there. The top tweet right now, or the top 1 or 2 tweets, is the John Campea Show question of the day. Do you think Lion King could possibly be the number one film of 2019? I'm going to go over and take a look right now. Over 1,000 of you guys have already answered the question right now. I'm shocked. A bunch of you guys right now, 65% of you are saying, yeah, it is possible that Lion King could beat out Avengers 4. 35% of you guys are saying it is not possible right now. You guys got 24 hours to answer that question. We will go over the final results of it, obviously, tomorrow during the John Campea Show. All right, with that out of the way, let's move on to the next topic today. And the next topic today comes to us from Troy Leggett, who writes, hey, John, like you, I'm one of the guys who actually liked Justice League despite all of its flaws. I was wondering if you saw that image of Darkseid Zack Snyder shared on social media. Wanted to know what you thought of the image and if you think adding Darkseid would have made the movie any better. All right, thanks a lot for the email, Troy. So, yeah, many of you guys know a lot of the unfortunate drama surrounding the Justice League movie. Zack Snyder, who of course directed Man of Steel, which is awesome. He also directed Batman vs. Superman, which I enjoyed, but both films were very divisive amongst people. He also made this Justice League movie. However, before he could complete the Justice League movie, there was, of course, a tragedy in his family. They announced he was stepping away. Joss Whedon stepped in to oversee the completion of the film and oversee post-production. A lot of massive reshoots. Some rumors that Zack Snyder was actually fired off the project before they announced the family tragedy thing and all that kind of... It's a whole jarbled mess. Anyway, this past weekend, Zack Snyder took to his social media, and the social media he uses is, what's it called? Vero? Is that the name of it? Something like that. It's not Twitter, it's not Facebook, it's this other alternative social media thing, but it's the one he uses, and he's used it for a while. And he put up this image with the caption on it says, "The bell can't be unrung." And of course, this was an image he was going to have in Justice League. It's a tablet, clearly with an image of Darkseid on it, with what looks like a form of a mother box in the middle. This was going to be some foreshadowing of things to come. And then, of course, it was known that it was part of the plan that Darkseid was going to appear in the end of Zack Snyder's version of the movie. Now, I don't know how I feel about Zack Snyder sharing this. Personally, I think it's just Zack Snyder giving Warner Brothers the middle finger with all the talking that he's been doing about it, which kind of adds credence to the notion that he was probably let go from Justice League, even, notwithstanding the stuff with the family tragedy. Be that as it may. So this was an image that was going to possibly appear in the film. The big question, though, as you brought up, is, do I think the movie would have been any better had they added Darkseid to the movie? Well, the answer to that question is an emphatic no. Let's put it this way. You guys know I actually like Justice League. I went to go see it in theaters at least 7 times. I can't remember if I went to see it the 8th time or not, but I had a lot of fun with it. Yes, it made mistakes. Yes, the film had problems. Absolutely. I'm not denying any of that. Absolutely it did. Mustache Gate and everything else notwithstanding, the horrible looking villain. Steppenwolf, just CGI and Steppenwolf was just terrible. All that kind of stuff. I acknowledge all of that, but you can acknowledge that something had problems and yet still enjoy it, and I still enjoyed the film. I went to the theater multiple times to watch it. But a lot of people didn't, and I can understand why. And it was very divisive, and it got people upset. Just like Batman vs. Superman was very divisive, and a lot of people didn't like it. Just like Man of Steel was very divisive, and a lot of people didn't like it, even though I think it's a top 10 comic book film of all time, but that's just me. Do I think had they added Darkseid made it any better? No. No. Because it doesn't matter what characters you put in a movie if you don't use them right. Steppenwolf is an amazing character. Amazing character. You could have built a damn great movie around him as your antagonist. But they botched it. Dr. Doom is a magnificent. You talk to comic fans, Dr. Doom, one of the top antagonists. One of the top. Dr. Doom is an incredible character. Did just throwing him in to Fantastic Four movies make those movies any better? No. Whether it's a Galactus. Amazing. Just drop him in a movie. Does that mean it's automatically better? No. It has nothing to do with the characters that you pull out of the comic books. It's how you use them. It's how you structure them. It's how you build narrative around them. It's how they execute the stories. It's all about how you use the characters, not about which character you just happen to drop in there. And before any of you guys who want to, cry to the heavens, if Zack Snyder had directed the whole thing, more people would have liked it. Zack Snyder directed the whole Batman vs. Superman movie, and look how that turned out. I liked it. Some of you liked it too, but it was completely divisive and divided everybody and was the lowest grossing movie. Not the lowest grossing, but Batman vs. Superman was a very divisive film, turned a lot of people off, that ultimately led to Justice League being the lowest grossing movie of the thing because it just created a problem. Zack Snyder directed the whole Man of Steel. I love it. I think he did an awesome job on that, but most of you guys, for some reason, disagree. And you found it to be a bad movie and divisive, and you didn't like it. And that's fine that you didn't like it. That's totally fine. It is what it is. The point here is, for people to say, had you added Darkseid and had you had Zack Snyder finish it off and direct it, it would have been great and people would have loved it. Maybe that's true, but history says otherwise. We had movies that he directed entirely. We had a couple of them. Did they automatically work out great? No. He had a guy like Doomsday. He had a Doomsday character he could put in. And did he, look, I like Batman versus Superman. I hated what they did with Doomsday. And most people hated what they did with Doomsday. But Doomsday is this great iconic character in the comics, the one that killed Superman, blah, blah. Yeah, you could have done great things with him, but just drop him in didn't make that movie any better. Now look, I'm a Zack Snyder fan. But this whole thing of let's pretend that if Zack Snyder had just stayed on board with Justice League, that it would have worked out better. I mean, that's possible. It is. It's possible. But like I said, history says otherwise. Precedent says otherwise. So would have dropping Darkseid in there made it any better? I don't think so. I think you still would have the same movie, just with a cooler character that ultimately disappointed people, just like Steppenwolf disappointed people. So I really don't think it would have made things any better. But that's just my opinion. I could be dead wrong about that. Anything is possible. Who knows? All right. With that out of the way, let's move on to the next email today. And the next email today comes to us from Orlando Orego, who writes, "Hello, John. Love watching your show while I'm at my job on my overnight shift." Well, thanks a lot for being there, Orlando. I'm glad I could join you along the way. While Disney has had an amazing 2018 so far, we need to talk about its movies that fail. Wrinkle in Time, Solo, Nutcracker have been financial flops. Does it affect Disney in any way? Or they are fine since the major hits cover for all the flops? All right, thanks a lot for the question, Orlando. And yes, when we think, you'd be forgiven if when you think of Disney's 2018, if you just think in terms of the amazing smash successes it has had. You're talking Black Panther. You're talking Wreck-It Ralph. You're talking Avengers Infinity War, on and on. They've had some pretty damn big hits. Ant-Man and the Wasp. They've had big hits. Big hits. Make lots of money. However, Disney is certainly not infallible, and they have had several missteps this year. Let's take a look at some of the ones that you've mentioned here, right? Wrinkle in Time, major flop. This movie lost them tons of money. And by the way, it's not like one of these situations where, oh man, it didn't make the money it deserved. No, Wrinkle in Time was a bad film. Let's just call it. Wrinkle in Time was a bad film. Wonderful idea, beautiful concept. I loved what they were going for, but it didn't work and did not execute, ended up being a bad film. Made $132 million. I don't even think it made its production budget. I don't even think Wrinkle in Time made its production budget back, let alone, accounting for the theater's take, for marketing, distribute, all that kind of stuff. This is a movie that cost them tons of cash. How about Solo? Well, you'd be tempted to look at that $392 million and say, well, they had to have broken even. Solo is a movie that at $392 million probably would have been a little bit profitable had it not been for the fact that they practically had to reshoot the whole movie. Taking that $150 million budget and probably blowing it up closer to a $300 million budget. And at a close to $300 million budget, $392 million at the box office ain't going to cut it. So yeah, had they never had to go back and reshoot so much of the stuff, maybe it's considered breaking even, maybe even making a little bit of profit. But the fact of the matter is, they did have to go back and reshoot a whole ton of it. And even at $392 million, Solo lost the money. Not buttloads of money, but it lost the money. And studios are not in the business of losing money. Solo, a movie that never should have been made, that nobody ever asked for, ended up losing the money. And then recently, this Nutcracker in the Four Realms of the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, whatever it's called, it ended up making $122 million. I know for a fact that didn't even cover the production costs, let alone the theatrical takes and all the other things, marketing, distribution, all that kind of stuff. This movie lost them at least, I'm going to guess, $200 million. I'm going to guess it lost them at least $200 million, minimum. So as great as Disney has performed this year, as great as Disney is, let's not forget that this is a studio that also has its own share of missteps and flops. And I think these are 3 films that we can safely call flops. I know it feels weird to say that about a movie that makes about $400 million, but when you consider all the behind-the-scenes drama and how much money it actually cost them, you can't get away from saying it was a flop. And the other 2 were absolutely flops. So, do these flops offset the financial gains that Disney could have made through their other films? Oh, nowhere close. Don't even worry about it. You at most, combined here with these 3 films, you're maybe talking about $400 million in losses. Maybe, and I'm going high. Probably closer to $300 million in losses, but let's say $400 million in losses. Guess what? Black Panther alone more than offset that. Black Panther, I think at the final was like $1.3 billion. I mean, that movie probably came in the neighborhood of making, I don't know, $600 million in profit. Maybe $700 million in profit. So that one movie all by itself more than wipes away all the losses from those other films. Then you're talking about the profit made on Wreck-It Ralph. Then you're talking about the profit made on Ant-Man. Then you're talking about the profit made on Avengers Infinity War and so on and so forth. No, this was a damn good year for Disney. This was a very, very good year at Disney. But keep this in mind too. Despite the fact that this was an insanely profitable year for Disney, it doesn't matter how much they make. No studio wants to make flops. And when you put out a flop like Nutcracker and you put out a flop like Wrinkle in Time, that's going to get people's at the studio's attention and maybe even cost some people their jobs. Are they happy about it? No. Did it ruin their year? Actually, absolutely not. It didn't ruin their year. Don't you worry about them on that. All right, let's move on to the final email today. And the final email today comes to us from Basil, who writes, "Why, hello there, good fellow." Well, thank you so much, Basil. "I've watched the new Lion King teaser so many times that I've lost count. Though this just came to my mind. Since the film is all CGI, yet meant to appear photorealistic and live action, should we consider this film an animated film or a live action film? Cheers and keep up the great work." All right, thanks a lot for the question, Basil. And you know what? Here's the thing. I have been as guilty about this as anybody else, maybe even more so. But my friends, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow movie fans, it is time for us to stop referring to this new Lion King movie as a live action film. This Lion King movie, there is nothing live action about it. This is not a live action film in any way, shape, or form. This is a completely computer-generated movie. There's nothing live action about it. And we, including me, including this guy, have often referred to the new Lion King as the Lion King live action movie. It's live action. No, it's not. This is all computer generated. There is nothing live action about it. Now, we go back to Jon Favreau's last film, Jungle Book, which is just fantastic. You know, I remember they showed us, this is going back a couple years, long before Jungle Book ever came out. I was at D23, and they showed the first footage of this upcoming Jungle Book movie, and it floored us. And then Jon Favreau came out and said, this entire movie was shot on a soundstage here in Los Angeles, which just blew our minds. Because a lot of us in that audience were assuming, wow, that CGI bear looks great. So they shot footage in a jungle somewhere and then put in a CGI bear. Amazing. But no, says Jon Favreau, this entire thing was done in a soundstage in Los Angeles. It's all green screen, with the one live action character being Mowgli. And that was it. I think there was a shot in Jungle Book where Mowgli's looking at a village and there's some other people. So that there's that too. But for the most part and for all intents and purposes, Jungle Book was a completely animated film with one live action individual, and that was the kid, right? There are no human beings in Lion King. None. This is an animated film. It is going to be the most realistic looking animated film in history, but make no mistake about it, this is an animated film. And it is time for websites, for YouTube channels, for fans and everybody, it is time for us to stop referring to Lion King, this upcoming 2019 version of Lion King, as the live action Lion King. There is nothing live action about it. These are not trained lion cubs. This lion cub you see right here, this isn't a very well-trained little lion cub and a very well-trained baboon who's playing the role of Rafiki. And no. These are CG-created animated creatures. And you are absolutely right to bring that up in the email. We should not be calling this thing live action. It's time for us to stop because it's simply not. I'm just curious, though, have you been referring to, I know I have you been referring to Lion King as a live action film? Do you agree with me that it's time to stop calling that because it's simply not a live action film? Jump down to the comments section and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, with all the emails now out of the way for today, let's go over and take some live questions from you guys. A bunch of you guys have been firing in some live questions, so let's go over and see what it is you guys have been talking about. And we're going to start things off with George Costanza, who watches the show regularly, writes, "My mother caught me. I was alone. Best comedy TV show episode." What did your mother say? George, why are you doing this? My God. It is so freaking hilarious. That episode is great. I don't know if that would be my favorite episode. Scott's Tots episode on The Office is right up there. And what is it? Snake Juice? Is that the name of the episode in Parks and Rec? When Tom created a new drink called Snake Juice? That is one of the funny, but absolutely, the whole My Mother Caught Me episode has to rank up there amongst some of the funniest TV episodes of all time, and certainly one of the funniest TV moments of all time. You can even see the performers were kind of cracking up just talking about it. I thought it was great. All right, James Welsh writes, "How much do you think Disney spent on The Lion King?" They haven't revealed the production budget yet. I know that the production budget on Jungle Book, though, was $177 million. So production on the Jungle Book was $177 million. So I'm going to guess it's in that neighborhood. I'm going to guess 180 to 195, maybe getting close to 200. I'm going to guess it's in that neighborhood since Jungle Book was around 177. So my guess, and I'm only speculating, it's going to be in that neighborhood. James Bonner writes, "Just watch Rocky again. Amazing. Again recently, holds up very well after all these years. Still amazed at how powerful the end scene between him and Adrian is." And by the way, a lot of people forgot that Rocky wasn't just some action film. It was Best Picture of the Year. The first Rocky won the Academy Award for Best Picture. I believe it also won for Best Editing, and I'm almost positive it won Best Director. Sylvester Stallone got nominated for Best Actor. Sylvester Stallone was also nominated for Best Screenwriter because Sylvester Stallone wrote the film. I'm forgetting the actress's name from The Godfather who played Adrian in it, but I remember she was nominated for Best Actress. And what? Yeah, it was Talia, something like that. Yeah, absolutely. Ray's remembering that. And she, of course, was also in the Godfather films. It was an awards Oscar movie. And you're right. The emotional level, it all holds up. It holds up great. And thinking about that movie is another thing that makes Creed 2 so special when you do go to watch it. All right, I'm Upset writes, "More likely Cars 4, Monsters, Inc. 3, or Shark's Tale 2. I don't think there's a chance Shark's Tale 2 gets made. And now that John Lasseter isn't at Pixar anymore, and really the only reason any of the Cars films got made was because they were a passion project of John Lasseter. He's not there anymore. So I don't think that's a possibility. I also think it's highly unlikely that we ever get a Monsters, Inc. 3, but out of those three options, I think that's the one. Monsters, Inc. 3 is probably the one that has the best chance of getting made, but honestly, I don't think any of them will. Which one? I missed a question above it. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, I did. Derek, thank you, Ray. I missed a question from Derek Woodrin, who writes, "Great week for movies." Absolutely it is. Loved Creed 2, and it was nice surprise seeing your boy Milo pop. Oh, Derek. Derek, dude, I appreciate it. And yes, but you just kind of dropped a spoiler there, my friend. So I know you didn't mean to. I know it was innocent enough. But guys, be very, very careful, please, when writing in these things, because they're going to be on screen. You're going to ruin something for some people. And I know it was totally unintentional, Derek, but you just kind of you spoiled something in the movie. So, but I know you didn't mean to. You meant well. Let's see. Derek Woodrin follows up, "Have you heard about the complaints about Green Book being a white savior film? I really like the film, and I think people are grasping at straws there." Yeah, I completely disagree with it. But listen, there are going to be people that complain about everything about every movie. It's not a significant group of people making that. There are some people, but there are some people complaining about everything about every movie. It doesn't necessarily need to be a news story. I agree with you, Derek. I watched that film. I thought it was about these two individuals who had a deep, dramatic, impactful impact on each other's lives. And I thought it was great. I really didn't get that sense at all. But I'm not surprised there are some people who complain about that because some would be everything. But I don't think that was really a part of the film. But that's just my opinion. All film's subjective. All right. I'm Upset writes, over under 25% Hobbs and Tyrese appear in Fast 9. Well, I don't see why Tyrese wouldn't appear in Fast 9. I think he will. Hobbs, I'll take the under 25%. First of all, we know the drama between The Rock and Tyrese. We know that drama. What I thought was just publicity, fake drama between The Rock and Vin Diesel, turns out that was real drama. They have some real animosity between the two of them. So on that basis alone, I won't say it's 0%. No, I won't. But 25% is a high line. I'm going to say it's under 25% that we see The Rock show up in Fast 9. I think he's going to do his spin-off films. Yeah, but I don't think we're going to see him and Vin Diesel work together again. Hopefully I'm wrong, but that's my guess. Hector Jeter writes, I never thought what you said before that Lion King was never set in a certain time period, but over under 10% that Disney adds a human character in the movie. So what Hector's talking about is, if you notice when you watch the original Lion King, there is absolutely nothing in the movie that suggests when the movie takes place. This is a movie that could happen in the year 905. It could happen in 1982. It could be happening in 2018. You simply don't know because nothing in The Lion King ever encroaches upon or has any influence of the outside world in it. So we simply don't know what year this movie takes place in. So Hector's asking, over under 10% that Disney actually adds a human character to the movie. I'm going to take under. I think that timeless element of Lion King is one of the things that makes it really special. And I don't think that's something that they're going to mess with. They may mess with a lot of things with the original Lion King in this new rendition, but I don't think adding an actual human character or giving us a sense about when this movie happens, I don't think they're going to do that. I really don't. So I'll take, even though 10% is a low number, I'm going to take the under on that. All right, Ben Rayner writes, Arrowverse Smallville crossover, I give a 5% chance. I might go a little bit higher, even though I'm saying, look, they're talking about some wine business venture. I don't think it has anything to do with an Arrow Smallville crossover. But I think I would give it high. I think I would set the line at like 12%. 12, which still makes it highly unlikely. Highly, highly unlikely. And I don't think it's going to happen. But I would probably set the line myself a little bit higher than that. Andy Inslee just sends in a super chat to Sports Channel. Thank you so much, Andy. Devontae Brown writes, saw Superman, the 1978 version, fully for the first time in theaters yesterday. Really good. Which version of part 2 do I watch for my first time? Oh, yeah, because there's two different versions. You've never seen Superman 2? The one with Zod? Really? A lot of people out there think that's like the best of the Superman movies. Well, and nobody thinks 3 or 4 are the best, but out of 1 or 2, Superman 2 is bloody ridiculous, but really freaking fun. And of course, Kneel Before Zod is such a great part of it. There is, I don't think I've ever seen the directors, or what do they call it? The Donner Cut? The Donner Cut. Yeah, they call it the Donner Cut. I don't think I've ever seen the Donner Cut. So I'll just go for the original theatrical version. It made the movie beloved. It made it an all-time classic. I would say go that one. Sit down and enjoy. Let's see. Holland Love writes, if you decide you don't want that PS4 Pro, I'll buy it for what you paid. Don't take it back. I'm looking to upgrade. So this is an open offer. Okay, so I shared this on Open Mic the other day. So, as you guys know, all of my first-person shooter, real-time strategy, role-playing, all that stuff, I do all my gaming on a PC. Historically, whenever I've tried my friends' systems, I struggle. The whole notion of moving with one controller while looking with a different controller, when I've always done that with the mouse. I know some people find controlling games with the mouse and keyboard really difficult and tricky. I don't know why. To me, it's the most natural thing. And I am a keyboard and mouse gamer. But a lot of people have been asking me to get my play and chat videos up again with me playing video games, but I've moved on from Warcraft. And, with PS4, so many great games coming out on PS4 recently, whether you're talking about Spider-Man, God of War, now Red Dead 2 is out. I was thinking, maybe I should get one, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, we're out Black Friday shopping, and I come across this deal. A PlayStation 4 Pro, the Pro version, Red Dead Redemption 2 bundle for $299. And I'm like, the cheapest I've seen this is $399. I got to buy this thing. And Ann was with me. I'm like, Ann, can I buy this? And she goes, okay, you can buy it. I'm like, yay. So I go ahead and I buy it, right? Take it home. We also bought a new, because it was like $250. We bought this brand new 50-inch 4K smart TV for our bedroom. Because I wasn't going to get a 4K TV for another couple of years, but it was so cheap I couldn't pass it up. So we got it, set up in the bedroom, set up the PlayStation in the bedroom, and it takes like 3 or 4 hours to install Red Dead. So I get it installing overnight. I go to bed, wake up the next day and go, all right, I'm going to play me some Red Dead 2. 5 minutes into playing it, I was ready to throw the controller through the window. My brain is not wired for controllers. And I've had so many people on social media tell me, John, just hang in there. It's not that hard. Like, keyboard and mouse is way more complicated. If you can do that, you can use a controller, blah, blah, blah. But I'm telling you what, guys, I was so frustrated. I was so mad. I was so angry. I was ready to drop kick the thing through the wall. Here's the thing. You ever see these videos on YouTube? Ray and I talk about these all the time. You ever see these YouTube videos with gamers losing their temper and freaking out? I've watched them because they're hilarious. And I watch them and go, oh, these guys are such losers. They have no life. They're so overreacting to just a game. Yeah, well, I don't think that anymore. Because after 5 minutes of trying to use a controller, I became one of those losers. I became one of those guys. And so that's what Holland's talking about. Now, I still have it. Bunch of people said, John, try using the controller on Spider-Man, because it's more intuitive with the controller. So Spider-Man was on sale on the PlayStation 4 for $30. So I bought it, downloaded it. I'm going to try playing it a little bit later tonight. I'm going to hang in there. I'm going to try, guys. I'm going to try. But I'm so wired for keyboard and mouse, but we'll see how it goes. All right. Now that we've gotten that big side trail out of the way, Bart Allen writes, the chance of a Disney cinematic universe with Aladdin, Simba, Mowgli, Mulan, Maleficent, etc. taking on Fantasia's Chernabog or another evil villain. Oh, I hope. Well, first, it's a no. Can we please move on that every fucking thing in the universe has to be a shared cinematic universe? Can we please move past that? No, it would sully and just ruin all these classic stories. No. I mean, it's fine if you want to do it in what was the video game where all the Disney you could play all the Disney characters? What was that called, Ray? Kingdom Hearts, is that it? That's fine for a game. You want to do something like that, that's totally great. But no, 0. I do not want it. I don't think anybody at Disney would be stupid enough to do it. But I don't know, but there's a lot of people who may want to see it. That's fine. Matt Brown writes, Pats win, Steelers and Miami lose. Yes. One of my good things from yesterday was my New England Patriots won against a team that usually plays them pretty tough, and the Jets, and they won pretty handily. Sebastian writes, simply put, I watch every episode, every one. Respect. Well, thank you so much, Sebastian. I really appreciate that, man. And it's always good doing these shows, knowing that we got guys like you watching the show along with us. So thank you for that, Sebastian. All right. Jared's Reviews writes, hope your day is off to a fantastic start. It actually is today. Thanks for mentioning that. What are the chances we get a sequel to Tomb Raider? Made $275 million worldwide, but only $57 million in the US on a $95 million budget. In my opinion, the best video game movie made. Thanks. I agree with you, Jared. To me, it is the best video game movie ever made. That's not saying a lot because every video game movie has been shit. Even one I love, like Mortal Kombat, it's a crappy movie, but I love it insanely. They've all been crap. Resident Evil movies, crap. Mario Brother movie, crap. Assassin's Creed, crap. I got a kick out of Warcraft, but it was nowhere near its potential, and a lot of people hated it. Crap results. They're all been crap. I thought this Tomb Raider was not bad. I didn't think it was great, but I thought it was not bad. And not bad makes it the best video game movie ever made. The problem is, while I would totally be down to see a sequel, And while they had a great lead star, I thought she did great in the movie. And while they left it open-ended to turn it into a franchise, you mentioned it, man. 57 million North American box office, only 275 million worldwide on a movie that basically cost them 100 million to make. Those aren't the numbers they wanted to see. Those simply are not the numbers they wanted to see. So while I am with you, I enjoyed it, and I would be down to seeing another one. Reality is, I don't think they will. I don't think they will. I hope I'm wrong about that. I desperately hope I'm wrong about that. Because I agree, best video game movie ever made. But even then, it wasn't great. And it certainly didn't live up to its potential at the box office either. Big, high-profile brand name, big recognizable IP. The game had relaunched recently, so it was put to the forward of the pop cultural consciousness again because of the new versions of the games that came out. Big Academy Award-winning star. All this kind of stuff. And it still couldn't really do much. So I doubt they'll take another crack at it, unfortunately. Matt Brown writes, did you see Peppermint and Frontrunner? Stay awesome. Peppermint, I thought was great. I thought Peppermint, now granted, I'm a huge Jennifer Garner fan, but I thought Peppermint was the female John Wick. I thought it was great. And Jennifer Garner kicks ass, all kinds of ass as an action star. Frontrunner, I still haven't had a chance to see yet. It's the one being directed by Jason Reitman, who is great. Same guy who directed Juno, Up in the Air, Thank You for Smoking. He's Ivan Reitman's son. He's a terrific director. You got Hugh Jackman in there, based on the true story. That stuff always appeals to me. I haven't seen it yet, though. Holland Love writes, any chance the Infinity War saga will be a trilogy? It doesn't sound like it at all. No, I don't think they have. I don't think that's the direction they're going. So, I mean, and really, if you look at it, the whole Avengers series has been one ongoing saga. I honestly, look, there is no Avengers Infinity War without Avengers Age of Ultron. And there's no Avengers Age of Ultron without Avengers. I really don't see it that way. I see it as just all the Avengers films. The whole MCU has been an ongoing chapter-like story progression through its universe. I don't really see... I mean, I think it's one of the reasons why Disney changed the title, because people were thinking initially when they were going to title it Infinity War Part 1, Infinity War Part 2, people got the misconception that, that this is its own kind of story outside of the rest of the MCU. And I think that's not what they intended. They always intended them as two separate films. And I think one of the reasons they changed the titles of them is to not create that misperception. So will there be... I honestly think that Avengers 4 is the final chapter using Thanos. And I think that's going to wrap it up. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not basing that on any insider information. That's strictly my speculation as a fan, but we'll have to wait and see. Hard Love reads, the synopsis reads more like a second act to me. Yeah, I mean, you can make that argument. You totally can. But again, I've just kind of heard people from Disney kind of describe it in different ways, so I don't think so. But again, I could be wrong. Brandon M. writes, saw Stephen Amell on Ninja Warrior. God damn, this dude is an athlete. Pure and simple. And if you are not convinced about the pure athleticism of Stephen Amell, the guy who plays Arrow on TV's Arrow, you got to watch him in WWE. Because he wrestles in professional wrestling events. And we've seen lots of celebrities come in to wrestle, and it's always funny. Stephen Amell stepped in there, and it was him and this other high-flying real professional wrestler versus not Goldust. What's his son's name? Yeah, Cody Rhodes. And what was he calling him? Stardust? Yeah, that's what he called him. Call himself Stardust or something like Goldust, Stardust, whatever. And another dude, and it was a tag team match. And Stephen Amell was doing some unbelievable, nutty stuff that you would only expect from a professional wrestler. Like this high-flying, off-the-top rope nonsense stuff. I did not see him on Ninja Warrior, but I'd be very curious to check that out. Jarek Yan writes, why didn't you include Frozen in Disney's 2019 run? Why didn't you watch the whole episode? We did include that at the end. There was an episode we were doing that. We brought up Disney's Frozen near the end. So clearly you didn't watch the entire episode, but it was mentioned and was brought up. Megapodtastic writes, if Dave Bautista wants out of Guardians 3, do you think Disney would recast Drax or enact his contractual obligation and kill him off early in the movie as Fox did with James Marsden in X-Men 3? I don't know. Like, I've always said that Dave has put Disney in basically, it's a no-win situation. It's a no-win situation for Disney. Number one, you have him in the movie, and you just give Dave the opportunity to just highlight a guy who doesn't even want to be there, who wants out of Disney, and you're forcing him to be in there, and blah, blah, and now you're just elongating that. So that's not a win. Or do you let him out of his contract and you set a dangerous precedent that, hey, everybody that we have contracts with, all you have to do is bitch and whine and complain publicly and we'll let you out of your contract. That's a dangerous precedent for them to set. And look, the whole situation is a horrible situation for everybody. I totally understand Dave Bautista's reactions. I totally do. I get why he feels the way he does. I appreciate the awkward position that Disney's now in, all the time, but right from the beginning, this is a messy situation, and there's really no one correct answer to it. Personally, I don't think they let him out of his contract. I just think, even though that's going to create problems for them, I think it creates bigger problems potentially down the line and sets a dangerous precedent that, hey, we've got you under contract. You have to appear. Oh, yeah? Well, you let Dave Bautista out of his contract when he just went publicly and whined and complained, so I'm going to do the same thing. It's such a dangerous precedent. They got to be careful about that. And again, I feel bad for everybody involved because this is a no-win situation. All right. Santez Henderson writes, the solo reshoots still boggle my mind. How can they hire directors without having an understanding of what they want those guys to do with the movie? Look, that has been one of my biggest complaints about, I am a fan of Kathleen Kennedy. I'm a fan of Star Wars. I'm a fan of Lucasfilm. But my one big frustration has been that, look, as the head of Lucasfilm, your number one job, and as the main producer on these films, your number one job is to get the right directors in. And it seems like with almost, except for JJ, it seems like with almost every director they've brought in for the new movies, there's been drama. Directors have come and gone. One director was on for episode 9. He's gone. JJ's in. We had, Josh Trank going to do his Boba Fett movie. He's out. We had, what are the name of the guys who were supposed to direct? Lord and Miller, thank you. We had Lord and Miller, then they get fired, bringing this. I mean, it's everything. They have completely botched their directors. And one of my biggest complaints has always been, how the hell do you hire these guys and get to that final stage of hiring them without being 100% sure that you and they are on the exact same page? How does that happen? How can you let that happen? How do you hire one guy for Star Wars Episode 9 without being 100% sure you're on the exact same page, only 6 months later to fire him over creative differences? Why didn't you find out there were creative differences before you announced they were hired? Why didn't you do your due diligence and find that out? Now, some people will suggest, and I understand this, that, hey, in the case of Lord and Miller, maybe they were all on the same page, and Lord and Miller then went rogue and started doing things against what they had decided to do. One of the things that we heard about the movie was they had agreed on the script that Lawrence Kasdan had written. And they agreed on it and said, yep, we're going to make that movie. But they started breaking away from the script a lot. So in Lucasfilm's and Kathleen Kennedy's defense in this one issue, perhaps that's the situation. Maybe they were all on the same page and then Lord and Miller just decided, we'll do whatever we want to do, even though we agreed to do something else. That's unfortunate. But yeah, that whole Solo situation, again, that's not even a movie that should have ever been made. Nobody wanted it, but hey, it is what it is. All right. Final question of the day comes to us from Zane Ramos, who writes, any more news on what's going on with Amazon's Lord of the Rings series? No, nothing new. I mean, everything seems to be moving ahead. They've got a plan for it. I think they're doing a lot of pre-production. They're probably doing a lot of rewriting and set design and character design and all that kind of stuff. Probably a long process there. So I wouldn't expect to hear anything new for a while until they start giving us some casting news. But as of right now, I haven't heard anything new. I know I'm looking forward to that movie, though. All right, guys. That'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Listen, don't forget, we will be back again tomorrow here on the John Campea Show. And also, guys, head on over to my Twitter account and make sure you vote on today's question of the day. Is it possible that Lion King, despite the fact that there's a Star Wars movie and despite the fact that there's an Avengers 4, could Lion King be the #1 film of 2019? Register your votes. We will go over the final results tomorrow. That will do it for me, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.